Today, we are going to completely shatter everything you have ever been taught about success. Seriously, everything. We've been sold this massive, exhausting illusion. From the time we're little kids, we're told that achieving your dreams requires endless suffering, grinding 24/7, waiting for the perfect circumstances, or being born with some magical one-in-a-million talent. But what if I told you that's all a lie? What if success is actually child's play? I know, it sounds crazy, right? But the premise we are unpacking today is going to change the way you look at your life forever. We're going to show you that your success isn't being blocked by your lack of ability. Not at all. It is being blocked by your beliefs. So let's just strip away all the complicated advice right now and let's dive right in.
Let me ask you a really simple question. Are you already successful? If I asked you that face-to-face right now, I bet most of you would instinctively shake your heads and say, no, not yet. I'm not rich yet. I don't have my dream job yet. But let's actually look at the facts for a second. How many of you drive a car? Have you ever driven through the absolute chaos of downtown New York City or maybe Los Angeles traffic during rush hour? Think about that for a second. It's pouring rain, cars are swerving into your lane without using turn signals, pedestrians are darting across the street, horns are blaring, there's total unpredictability in every direction. You have been navigating that chaos for years, and you are still alive. Is that not a massive, mind-blowing success? If you took someone who had never seen traffic like that, someone who had never driven, and you put them behind the wheel in downtown Manhattan, they would freeze in absolute terror. They would fail instantly. So the absolute crucial point here is that you are already wildly successful at things you once thought were totally impossible. The problem isn't your capability. The problem is that society's definition of success just keeps shifting. They keep moving the goalposts further and further out of reach. First, they told you success was just graduating high school. Then you had to get a college degree. Then you had to land a high-paying corporate job. Then you had to buy a house, get married, have kids. It literally never ends. If we sat down right now and listed every single thing you've successfully conquered in your life, we would be here all day long. You already have the tools for success. You already have the muscle memory. You just need to remember how you use those tools in the first place.
Look at the absolute stark contrast here. Imagine I have a pitcher of ice-cold, fresh water, and I want to pour it into a glass for you, but the glass has a tightly screwed-on lid. What happens? The water just spills everywhere. It bounces right off. Your mind is that glass. As adults, our minds are closed off. We've become so incredibly cynical. The very moment we hear an idea that challenges our existing beliefs, our brain instantly throws up a wall and screams, "Nope, that's impossible. That won't work for me. It's too difficult." But I want you to think about a child's mind. A child's mind is wide open by default. There is no lid. A child doesn't even know what the word impossible means. Think about a baby learning to walk. That kid falls down 50, 60, 100 times. They hit their head, they cry, but they never once sit there on the carpet and think to themselves, you know what, maybe this whole walking thing just isn't for me. I'm just not cut out for it. I'll just crawl forever. No. To a child, it is an exploration. It's a game. They have absolutely zero fear of failure and zero fear of judgment.
And that brings us to an incredibly crucial concept, the fertile mind. I want you to imagine that I'm holding a handful of tiny, dry seeds in the palm of my hand. If you just look at them, all you see are these hard, insignificant little specks. But we both know that inside those tiny seeds are massive, 50-foot oak trees with thousands of leaves, deep roots, and heavy branches. You can't see the trees yet, but they are in there. However, if I take those seeds and throw them out onto a barren, dry, concrete parking lot, what happens? Absolutely nothing. They will die in the sun. They need a fertile mind. They need rich soil. Listen to me. Every single person watching this explainer right now has the seed of massive, unbelievable success already inside them. Your potential is already there. Your capability is already there. But you have to ask yourself a hard question. What is the soil of your mind actually like? Is it fertile land ready to nurture that seed, or is it a barren, toxic parking lot? And here's the real kicker. Having fertile land isn't just about forcing yourself to think positive. That's a myth. Scientists estimate we have something like 60,000 thoughts a day. You cannot possibly control all of them. What matters isn't every fleeting passing thought. What matters is your core, bedrock, foundational belief. What you truly believe deep, deep down in your bones becomes your reality.
So we really have to ask, how does our mental land become so unfertile in the first place? Where does this poison come from? Well, unfortunately, it almost always starts in childhood. There's a deeply relatable story from our sources that perfectly illustrates this. I want you to imagine a young boy growing up in a struggling, working-class family back in the day. He's outside, and he sees the rich kid in the neighborhood riding past on a brand-new, gleaming red Schwinn bicycle. It's the nicest thing he's ever seen. The boy runs inside, finds his father, who is exhausted, stressed out, and worried about how he's going to pay the rent, and the kid begs for the bike. The father, pushed to his absolute limit, snaps. He yells, "I am not Rockefeller. I can't just buy you everything you demand." Now the little boy doesn't understand the reference. He asks his mother, and she softly explains, Rockefeller is a man with a whole lot of money. So the little boy's face lights up. He smiles and proudly declares, "Well then I will grow up and be Rockefeller." Now here is where the tragedy happens. At the very next family gathering, the aunts and uncles call the little boy into the middle of the crowded living room. "Hey buddy, tell everyone what you want to be when you grow up." The boy puffs out his chest and says, "Rockefeller." And the entire room of adults bursts into roaring, mocking laughter. They point at him. "Oh, sure you will. A working-class kid like you? Good luck with that." The boy didn't understand the concept of wealth yet, but he absolutely understood the feeling of being mocked by the people he loved and trusted the most. That right there, that was the exact moment the very first seed of toxic self-doubt was planted in his mind.
And as that boy grows up, that laughter, that mockery, it evolves. It turns into a phrase that I guarantee you have heard 1,000 times in your own life. It is too difficult. Think about it. You go to an older relative or maybe a boss or a mentor, and you pitch them a big dream. You tell them about a business idea you're passionate about. And what do? They give you that condescending little pat on the head, they sigh, and they say, "Look, kid, that sounds really great in theory, but out here in the real world, it's just too difficult." I need you to understand that this phrase is a literal disease. Every single time you hear it and every single time you internalize it, it strips the nutrients right out of your mental soil. It poisons the land. Eventually, "it's too difficult" morphs into a much deadlier phrase. It's impossible. And once you genuinely believe something is impossible, it's game over. You stop trying. You just surrender. You accept a mediocre life, a mediocre job, a mediocre reality, all because someone else who gave up on their own dreams projected their limitations onto you.
If you want to know exactly how this works, think about the classic story of the circus elephant. When the circus gets a tiny baby elephant, the trainers tie its leg to a massive, heavy iron peg driven deep into the dirt using a thick, heavy physical rope. The baby elephant hates it. It pulls and it pulls and it fights with all its might to break free. It tries for weeks, but it's just too small. The rope is too strong. It fails. Eventually, the baby elephant's brain accepts a fundamental, unbreakable rule: I cannot break this rope. Trying is useless. Now, fast forward 10 years. That elephant is a massive, towering 5-ton beast. It literally has the physical strength to uproot an entire oak tree. But how do the trainers keep it tied up? With a thin, flimsy, cheap piece of rope attached to a tiny wooden stake. Why doesn't that massive elephant just snap it and walk away? Because the restraint is no longer physical. It is entirely a mental belief. The elephant is chained by the memory of its past failures. You guys, we are exactly the same. We are walking around held back by the thin, flimsy mental ropes of the lies we were told when we were young and vulnerable. But here is the beautiful truth. The absolute second you realize that rope is an illusion, you can snap it and walk free.
Now, I don't want you to just take my word for this. I'm going to prove to you, right now, exactly how your mind processes these beliefs and limitations. I want to play a very quick game. Wherever you are sitting right now, just close your eyes for a second. Now listen to my instruction very, very carefully. Do not think about your mother. I absolutely forbid you from picturing your mother's face right now. Do not do it. Okay, open your eyes. What just happened? Every single one of you instantly pictured your mother, even though I explicitly, clearly told you not to. Why did that happen? Because the human mind does not process language in words or negations. It doesn't understand do not. It thinks strictly in images. When I say the word terrorist, a very specific, dark image pops into your head. When I say peace, a completely different, calm image appears. When I tell you, do not think of your mother, your brain totally ignores the words do not because it literally cannot visualize do not. It just bypasses it and immediately searches its database for the image of mother.
Okay, so why does that matter? Let's dive into why this completely ruins the traditional idea of positive thinking. If your mind thinks strictly in images, then just forcing yourself to say positive words out loud is completely useless if the underlying image in your head is negative. If you are struggling at work and you keep chanting to yourself, don't fail, please don't fail, what is your brain doing? Your brain is flashing massive, neon red images of failure over and over again. You are literally programming yourself to fail while trying to be positive. This is exactly why generic positive thinking is often just like taking an aspirin for a broken arm. It's a temporary band-aid.
You read a motivational quote on Instagram, you feel hyped up for about an hour, and then tomorrow morning, you go right back to your old self-sabotaging habits. Why? Because your root beliefs, those core fundamental images your brain defaults to when things get hard, haven't changed at all. To truly, permanently change your life, you have to execute a root belief shift. You have to change the actual image your brain is searching for. You can't just tell your brain what not to do. You have to feed it a radically different, compelling picture of what is.
So what is the antidote? What is the cure for the poison of "it is too difficult"? What is the image we need to plant in our fertile soil? It is 3 incredibly simple, powerful words. It is easy. This is the ultimate mantra. And listen to me, this isn't just fluffy feel-good motivation. This is a literal psychological hack. Remember how we said the brain acts like a search engine? If you tell your brain, wow, starting this business is going to be really hard, your brain will instantly generate 1,000 perfectly logical, rational reasons why it is hard, why you are going to fail, and why you shouldn't even bother trying. But the absolute second you intercept that thought and declare out loud, "It is easy," you literally force your brain's search engine to reverse its direction. Even if you don't fully believe it in that moment, just saying the words, "it is easy," forces your mind to stop hunting for excuses and start hunting for solutions. It forces your mind to find the path of least resistance.
Let's ground this in reality. Let's look at a hyper-practical example that I guarantee almost everyone watching this has experienced: getting in shape. We all know we should exercise more. So, it's 10 p.m., you've just watched a motivational explainer, you feel highly motivated, you set your phone alarm for 6 a.m. to go for a jog, you are pumped. This is the new you. But then, you get into bed, you start tossing and turning, midnight rolls around, and you are still wide awake, staring at the ceiling. And that's when the thought creeps in. Man, waking up at 6 a.m. when it's dark outside is going to be so hard. Boom, you just triggered the negative search engine. Your brain instantly provides you with a massive list of perfectly valid excuses. I didn't get my full 8 hours of sleep. My knee felt a little bit weird yesterday on the stairs. It's probably cold outside. If I'm tired today, I'm going to mess up that big presentation at work. By the time that alarm goes off at 6 a.m., you have built a bulletproof, lawyer-level logical case for why getting out of bed is a terrible, dangerous idea. And what do? You reach over, smash the snooze button, and go back to sleep.
Now, I want you to watch closely what happens when we apply the root belief shift to that exact same scenario. It's midnight. You are tossing and turning. Those negative, excuse-making thoughts start to creep in. But this time, instead of accepting them, you intercept the thought. You say out loud to the empty room, "Waking up early is easy." Now, at first, your internal voice is going to scream back at you, "Are you crazy?" No, it's not. It's miserable. But you repeat it calmly. "Waking up is easy." Suddenly, the search engine shifts gears. Your brain pauses and says, "Wait a minute, is it easy?" Well, yeah, actually. Last month, I had to catch a 5 a.m. flight for that vacation to Hawaii. I woke up at 3:30 a.m. before the alarm even went off. I jumped out of bed, grabbed my bags, and I was wide awake and full of energy. Catching a flight for a vacation is easy. And wait, isn't my actual health and my life more important than a 5-day vacation? Instantly, the image in your mind shifts from suffering and darkness to victory and energy. And when that alarm rings at 6 a.m., you wake up energized because you finally gave your brain an empowering image to follow.
So let's say you've done the work. You've cleared the unfertile land. You've snapped that flimsy elephant rope tying you to your past. You've planted the belief that it is easy deep in your mind. The next massive, terrifying hurdle people face is this paralyzing question. Okay, I believe I can do it, but what exactly should I do with my life? People completely freeze right here. They tell themselves they have too many options, or they say they have absolutely zero marketable skills. They sit around waiting for lightning to strike them with a brilliant, guaranteed $1,000,000 idea. Or worse, they go around asking other people, "Hey, what do you think is a good career for me?" Listen to me. Asking someone else what you should do with your life is like asking someone else to chew and eat your food for you. It makes absolutely no sense. Nobody else has your taste buds, and nobody else has your soul.
And this dilemma brings us to the ultimate lifelong battle: the outer voice versus the inner voice. The outer voice is society. It's your parents, your well-meaning friends, the news, the economy. The outer voice looks at a teenager who spends 12 hours a day happily taking apart computers and rebuilding them in his bedroom, and it says, "Stop wasting your time. There's no stability in just tinkering with computers. Look at your uncle. He became a CPA 10 years ago. He's got a nice suburban house, a retirement plan, go to a safe school, play it safe, and become an accountant." And because that kid is terrified of failing and disappointing his family, he listens to the outer voice. He becomes an accountant, and he spends the rest of his life absolutely miserable, staring blindly at spreadsheets in a gray cubicle, his soul slowly dying day by day. Why? Because he ignored his inner voice. Your inner voice is that undeniable pull toward the thing you can do for 12 hours straight, forgetting to eat, not caring if you get paid $1 or $1 million, simply because the sheer act of doing it brings you profound, deep joy. If you follow the outer voice, yeah, you might get a steady paycheck, but you will be spiritually bankrupt. If you follow your inner voice, the money will eventually follow, because your passion will drive you to become undeniably great at what you do.
I want to share a staggering, heartbreaking reality about human potential with you. 90% of people in this world who fail do not fail because they took a massive, courageous risk, fought incredibly hard, and lost the battle. They don't fail because they lack talent or they didn't have enough venture capital funding. No. 90% of people fail because they never even try. They hold the magnificent seed of their success right in the palm of their hands. They stare at it their entire lives, and they take it to the grave without ever planting it in the dirt. They constantly wait for the perfect time. They tell themselves, I'll do it when I have more money saved, or I'll start when I have more experience, or I'll launch when I'm not so scared. They convince themselves that taking action is simply too risky. But let me tell you a profound secret from our sources. Risk is a completely man-made illusion. Think about it. When a baby is learning to walk, do we hover over them and say, hey, don't try to walk. The economy is bad right now. It's too risky. You might fall and bruise your knee. No, we let them crawl. We encourage them to stand, and we cheer when they walk. The only real risk in this universe is reaching the very end of your life and realizing you never actually lived.
So, if we know all of this, why don't we try? What is the invisible, suffocating force stopping us from planting the seed? It boils down to one incredibly toxic, dream-killing question. What will people think? This is without a doubt the biggest disease holding humanity back today. Our source gives a brilliant, totally relatable example. Imagine a guy who just graduated with an MBA in finance from a top school. He lands a prestigious corporate job in a high-rise building, but he's completely miserable. He comes home angry and drained every single day. His true passion? Cooking. He absolutely loves cooking. He could stand over a hot stove for 24 hours straight making food for his friends and be incredibly happy. So why doesn't he quit and open a restaurant? He makes an excuse. Well, I don't have $1 million to open a fancy restaurant. Okay, fair enough. Then why not start small? Why not buy a simple, inexpensive food truck and sell your amazing gourmet tacos on the street corner downtown? And here's where the ugly truth comes out. He refuses. Not because of the money. He refuses because he is utterly terrified of what his wealthy father-in-law will think. He is terrified his old college fraternity brothers will see him sweating in a food truck on the street corner and mock him. Wow, an MBA graduate slinging tacos on the street? What a total failure. Do you see the tragedy here? He would rather be profoundly depressed and dying inside while wearing an expensive suit than joyfully, passionately alive behind the window of a food truck? I'm telling you right now, never, ever, ever let the fear of someone else's opinion dictate the trajectory of your life.
Okay, so let's get deeply practical. How do we actually build this new reality? It's a structured path, and you can start today. Step 1. Clear the unfertile land. You have to aggressively stop engaging with a toxic belief that the world is against you, that the deck is stacked, and that everything is impossible. Cut out the negativity. Step 2. Plant the "it's easy" belief. Whenever you face a challenge, force your brain to search for solutions by boldly declaring out loud that the path ahead is manageable. Tell your brain it is easy and watch it find the way. Step 3, and pay close attention here because this is critical. Take small, actionable steps. Do not try to leap across the Grand Canyon in one single jump. You will fall. If you want to build a massive restaurant empire, buy the food truck first. If you want to be a master photographer, borrow a cheap camera and do free photo shoots for your friends on the weekend. Do not wait for perfection, just move. And finally, step 4, share the fruits. Which leads us to the absolute most profound, goosebump-inducing part of this entire explainer.
So let's fast forward. Let's say you do it. You silence the cynical critics. You tune out the outer voice and listen to your inner voice. You work incredibly hard, you follow your passion, and against all odds, your tiny seed grows into a massive, towering tree. The branches are heavy with delicious, ripe fruit. You've achieved success. You have the money in the bank, the elevated status, the booming business. You made it. But now the most important question of your entire existence is staring you right in the face. Once your tree bears fruit, what next? What do you actually do with the harvest? The answer to this specific question determines the difference between a life of deep, radiant, fulfilling joy and a life of miserable, empty, paranoid isolation.
I want you to let that sink in. The universe operates on a fundamental, unbreakable law of reciprocity. If you hoard your success, if you lock up your wealth, your knowledge, and your joy in a dark vault and violently refuse to let anyone else experience it, it will rot.
and you will rot right along with it. Look around our society today. We have an absolute epidemic of people who are desperately starving for love, starving for respect, starving for just a tiny bit of happiness. But what are they doing? They are sitting around with their arms crossed, waiting for someone else to walk up and hand it to them. It simply does not work that way. If you are a husband who desperately wants respect from his wife, you have to give her absolute, unconditional respect first. If you are walking down the street and you want people to smile at you, you have to be the one to smile at them first. If you want massive wealth, you have to provide immense, life-changing value to others first. You cannot extract from the world what you are unwilling to inject into it.
So the absolute crucial point we are driving at today is that we have to radically redefine our ultimate destination. Society loudly tells us that success is dying with the biggest bank account, a garage full of sports cars, and the biggest mansion on the hill. But listen to me, that is just hoarding fuel. Money is literally just the gasoline for your car, and it's absolutely necessary to drive the car, but you don't buy a beautiful car just to collect gallons of gasoline in the trunk. True success is the glorious point where your cup finally overflows. It's that deep spiritual realization that you finally have enough. And once you reach that point, you shift your entire life's focus to using your abundance, your free time, your hard-earned energy, and your resources to nourish the people around you. The business owner who builds a massive empire just so he can buy a fourth luxury yacht is playing a very sad small game. But the business owner who builds an empire to elevate their employees, uplift their local community, and share their joy with the world, that person is playing the infinite game. And that, my friends, is true, lasting success.
Let's take a breath and recap this incredible, transformative journey we've been on today. We started by realizing that success isn't some elite, complex algorithm reserved for lucky few. It is quite literally a child's game, meant to be played with wide-eyed joy and fearless curiosity. We learned that the things holding us back aren't actual physical barriers, they are mental elephant ropes tied to our ankles by the cynicism of others. We learned the ultimate neurological hack. Whenever you feel stuck, replace the crippling, toxic belief of "it is too difficult" with the empowering, solution-oriented mantra of "it is easy," and watch your brain find a way. We learned to aggressively tune out the loud, fearful outer voice of society and tune into the quiet, passionate inner voice of our true calling. We made a promise to ourselves that we will never, ever let the toxic fear of "what will people think" stop us from building our dreams, even if that dream starts as a humble food truck on a street corner. And most importantly, we learned that the ultimate grand purpose of growing our beautiful tree of success is to share the harvest with a hungry world.
You are already successful in so many incredible ways. You have survived every single bad day you've ever had. You have navigated every chaotic storm. And you are holding the seed of infinite, mind-blowing potential in your hands right at this very moment. Your mind is fertile, the rope is broken. So I leave you with this challenge, and I want you to feel this deep, deep in your core. When you close this screen and go out into your life, your job, your family, are you going to keep your amazing gifts locked away in a vault out of fear? Or are you going to step boldly into your power, take that first small action, and ask yourself, what will I share with the world today? Because I promise you, the moment you decide to share your gifts, your entire life will change forever. Go plant your seed.